In this screencast, I'm going to show you how to install and set up a demo app that Mendix has created. This app has a lot of functionality in it that you can then explore. The app was created a bit before the web modeler took off, so there were a few extra steps we need to take to get it into the web modeler. But you should be able to run it both and view it both from the web modeler and the desktop modeler. So the first step is to open your Mendix desktop modeler in Amazon Workspaces. If you already have a project open in there, you're going to want to go to Close Projects so you get to this page. So this page will show you whatever apps you already have installed. What we want to do is click on App Store. So notice I am doing this in the web modeler. This is not the App Store from the browser. And so this is going to let me set up a new project inside of the modeler. If you look here, you should see that one of the most popular items is company expenses. If for some reason that doesn't show up, you can go up to the search and type company expenses and search, and that should show up. So you want to click on that. There are a number of other options, but this is the one we're going to explore today. So this comes up, you click download, and it is going to download and offer to create a new app. I'm going to call mine Company Expenses Screencast just to distinguish it. You can obviously just leave it as Company Expenses. It's going to be stored in Workspaces. A quick important point, if when you look at the project directory here, you see users and then you see something called Image Builder, make sure you put your BC user name here. I'm not putting George.Weiner, I'm putting the Weiner GE, which is that BC username, and that you have slashes before it, and otherwise that will put it in the right place. New Mendix team server. So what this is going to do is it is going to download the app, it is going to create a new local project, and it's going to upload it to the team server. So when the upload is finished, you should get to this screen, and before we go to work here on this, we're going to want to turn on the web modeler. So if you look up here, this little icon here refers to the option to go to the project dashboard, which is what we're going to want to do. So we go there, and you'll see that a new project has been created. If we go to Edit App, you'll notice that Web Modeler is not enabled. This is because this project was designed in Mendix prior to the Web Modeler being set up. It doesn't have the Web Modeler capability built in, so we click Settings. And then what we do is we scroll down to Web Modeler, and it says that we need to upgrade the app to handle the Web Modeler. So we do Enable with the Web Modeler. Okay, and now what we do is if you go to Edit in Web Modeler, so notice again we're on the browser now, we're in the Web Modeler, and now the Web Modeler is opened. It's actually open to a microflow. If you look here, we have a ton of microflows, so this is great stuff to sink your teeth into. We have several menu choices. We have two different domain models, so an expenses domain model. So we've got a lot going on here, and then we have a ton of pages. So this is, again, if you want to just browse around and see how someone has built a Mendix app, this is going to be a great place to go. Before we go much further here, there's going to be an issue, and the issue is, and I think I'll just demonstrate that to you. If we go here to publish, okay, that's going to take the usual long time. So I'll describe the issue and then we'll resolve it. So the issue we have is that right now, the only role you can play when you go into the app is either an employee or a manager, but neither the employee nor the manager has the full capabilities of an administrator. So we're going to need to add an administrator role. So what we're going to do here is we're going to get that set up. Now, one small issue we have is, and I'm not 100% sure about this, but this worked, so I'm just going to describe it. I found that it was hard to get the web modeler syncing with the desktop modeler without taking this extra step. So what I'm doing here, I'm going to go to the I'm going to go to my desktop modeler. I'm going to close the project. Okay, I'm going to go back to my browser, and now I'm going to do edit in desktop modeler. If you get prompted to select which version, use the latest version and just open this up. In this case, it's opening right up for me. And what this should do is it should make the link we need to make. All right, so I've opened this back up. That extra step should hopefully allow me to have, under more versioning, a sync with Web Modeler. I need to commit something. I'm not quite sure what that is, but click OK. Under Project, do commit. I'm just going to say syncing with Web Modeler. And now I can go Project, more versioning, sync with Web Modeler. OK, now I have to finish the sync. So click OK. I will do Project, more versioning, finish sync with Web Modeler. Okay, so we're getting everything synced up here. Click OK. Okay, we're all synced. You'll notice, by the way, that we now have this icon to open in the Web Modeler. But before we do that, I want to show you an issue. If I run locally, I am prompted to create the database. Now I'm running, so I will click View. So here's this expense system. You'll notice that I am logged in as some anonymous user, and my role is employee. Okay, we'll see how this is set up. Security is turned on, but we've actually said we have security, but we'll let people come in anonymously, and if they don't log in, they're set to be an employee. There's this little picture of a person with a kind of recycling arrow on there. If I click on that, you'll see I have two demo accounts I can choose. So if I choose manager, now I'm actually assigned some data for a manager. And you'll notice I can add a new expense and so forth. But if I go to my employee list, I have these two employees. I don't have an option to add an employee. The reason is that manager in the system is not given administrative rights. So there are all kinds of ways we could approach this, but I think a nice one would be to go back to our desktop modeler, and under the project icon here, we'll double click on security. You can see security is on, but anonymous users are allowed, and if you're an anonymous user, you're given the role of employee. Because we're allowing that, which is good because it means in the cloud we won't have to log in, we're not offered an option to log in as an administrator. So the way around this is we want to add another demo account that we can choose. And that demo account, so I've gone to demo users, click new. We'll call this administrator. The kind of entity is expenses.employee. I'm not going to explain that right now, but we can get into that another time. And the user role we want to assign this account is administrator. So what that means is now when I run my app, I should have an additional demo account, which is an administrator. So I'm going to click OK. I'm actually going to click the stop button. I'm not sure I need to do that, but I want to just clean restart of the system. So now I'm going to view the app. Again, initially I'm logged in as anonymous. If I click here, I now have this administrator option. And you'll see that when I do that, I now have some additional options. I have this admin menu, and I have these different tabs. And if I go to employees and managers, you see I now have the option to add a new employee, to add a new manager. I have the ability to add expense types and the ability to add some currencies for currency conversion. So at this point, I'm free to explore the system. I would recommend actually just kind of looking at different roles. You'll notice that if I have an employee role, I can add a new expense. And then I'm not going to walk through this right now, but if you experiment, you'll see that new expenses then show up on the manager's dashboard, and the manager can approve an expense, and then it shows up needing to be reimbursed. You can actually upload a photo of a receipt. There's a lot in here to explore. And what you can do is you can explore this here. We have an expenses module. That's where most of the stuff is. If you click, we have a very elaborate domain model. We'll see that there are a bunch of interesting features that have been put in here. There's all kinds of stuff in different folders. The employee folder, there are lots of microflows. I don't recommend that you try to do this 100%, but it's great. You spend a little time in here, you'll learn some stuff. So the one other thing I want to do is, now that we've added our demo admin, we need to commit our change. Added demo admin user. We want to commit that. I think we should go ahead and also, now that we've committed it, also sort of update the cloud version. And while that's happening, let's also sync back to the web modeler. So I'm going to project more versioning, sync with web modeler. Now we finished syncing with the web modeler. If we actually open in web modeler, little reminder, click continue. Okay, so we're in the web modeler. I don't know if it was a good or a bad idea that I was pushing changes from the desktop modeler. I'm just going to go ahead and hit publish here. So since I pushed changes from the desktop, I had to wait for a bit, and now it says it's running. Let's see if the changes are there. I'm going to view it in tablet mode. And the change I'm looking for is the option to be an admin. And here I am. I've got the new employee option. And we are good. So a couple of quick concluding comments. This is a great opportunity for you to kind of see a more elaborate setup. There'll be things that you may have questions about, like these little blue things, and we can talk about that. The other thing to say is, once one person has set this up in the desktop modeler, you can then go to the project page, and that individual can then go to team and can actually invite the other members of your project team to this new project. So only one person on each team needs to set it up, and everyone else could potentially just look at it in the desktop modeler or play around with the functionality, in the web modeler, play around with the functionality. Some of the things that you see in the web modeler, you won't get necessarily the same view as in the desktop modeler. There are some features that are only in the desktop, but this is a new resource for learning more about Mendix. Let me know how this works for you, and if you have questions, we can also look at some of the other sample apps.